Greetings, fellow customer loyalty enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of Leaders in Customer Loyalty Industry Voices, where we speak with consultants, agencies, and technology providers leading the way in customer loyalty innovation. This series dives into the latest trends, best practices, and forward-thinking solutions with insights from subject matter experts who also happen to be members of Loyalty 360. In this week's episode, we are looking at the trends that will shape customer loyalty in this year. The Loyalty 360 2025 Trends in Customer Loyalty report we published earlier this month has in-depth insights from our members on how customer loyalty programs will change over the year ahead. To give you a taste of what you can expect from the report, we've put together this compilation of Industry Voices episodes from earlier this year, with our experts sharing trends and movements that are already underway. If you enjoy this video, be sure you head to loyalty360.org to download the entire 2025 Trends in Customer Loyalty report, and be sure to subscribe to Leaders in Customer Loyalty wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss out.
In hindsight, what predictions about customer loyalty in 2024 do you believe turned out to be accurate? And how are these developments impacting brands and their customer loyalty program strategies?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. And I do think kind of as an extension to the conversation that we just had, is the biggest thing that proved out accurate is ongoing quest to reimagine, redesign the loyalty program for those brands that already have one in place. And then for those that don't have, they're just starting out, that they're doing lots of research and analysis before they decide to put the value prop in terms of loyalty in front of customers. So I would say reinvention as a team is probably the biggest prediction that we as the industry envision is going to take place in 24. And I would say as we go into 25, to me, that's going to continue to be the team, because we definitely see ongoing disruption and evolution, what customers expect from brands. And so all of the brands are thinking about what changes they need to make to what they already offer and support for customers.
Okay, excellent. Alternatively, when you look at some customer loyalty trends or predictions that you expected to see that you did not see, did not materialize, what happened there, and what do you think influenced that?
Yeah, I would say if I have to pick one, it's just, I think that we all had a little bit bigger expectations when it comes to integration of social media, if you will, into the whole loyalty, kind of reward scheme. And I would say there are examples out there, but, certainly I would say clunky at best in terms of what that experience looks like. And then as we start having conversation, why I think that there's a technology component, there's a shifting priorities on the brands, side in terms of where the focus is. And then, certainly going into 25, there was a lot of regulatory uncertainty. And I think that also impacted, the focus that the brands were putting on this aspect of their programs.
In hindsight, what predictions about customer loyalty in 2024 that you thought would come into fruition, you believe turned out to be accurate? And how have those accurate assessments impacted brands' customer loyalty strategies?
Yeah, you know what? There were some predictions that came true, and I think the major one was we knew we were sort of coming out of COVID. We were seeing a recalibration of business models and consumer need state, and that many of the major loyalty programs were going to need to do some dramatic recalibrations of their structures to make them more profitable, to get their balancing under control, and to be more efficient. And we absolutely saw that. I think case in point is what happened with the airlines and those programs. We saw a lot of them start to change the mechanic for how you qualify for tiers. They made it more spend-based, introduced loyalty points and those types of analogs. But at the same time, they were able to sweeten the pot for the member experience and bring in a new constellation of quite frankly better partner benefits that feel a little more authentic to the needs of travelers. And so I think we did see that absolute balancing take place, and we continue to see it across many major programs. They're going in, they're fixing it, and the focus that we predicted and others predicted was really lean into high perceived value benefits and perks to make the program more attractive, but get the customer value proposition, the CVP, under control. Because, of course, all of the things that you do affect revenue recognition and profitability. And that balancing and recalibration is going to continue. And it's going to be repackaged in a way that makes it look like it's better for the consumer. And in some respects it will be, and in other respects they're going to have to change it up. Were there predictions that really didn't come to fruition? Is that the next question?
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
That,
And so I think like everyone, myself included, said 2024 was going to be the year of hyper personalization at scale. Like it was absolutely going to happen. And there have been advances in it for sure. We've had some successes, but I will have to tell you, if I look at the marketing landscape and the loyalty landscape in its totality, hyper personalization simply became more hyper. I didn't see the personalized. What I saw was even more emails, even more communications. And even if those were somehow enabled by AI and leveraged customer-centric data points, the sheer amount of volume in the personalization stack looks much more spray and pray now than it ever did. And truly personalized content that speaks to consumers at a one-to-moment point in time or to a consumer need state hasn't really happened. And we still look to seeing more of that come to play in the years ahead. You know, and the other prediction, I predicted that this was going to be the year of clienteling informed by data, and that brands were going to make, as everyone's trying to save their brick and mortar, right? Or at least their profitable brick and mortar stores and retail. And this should have been the year where folks were like, how do I drive footfall in store in a way that builds my brand and balances the offline to online, channel distribution, and arming store associates and human agents with better information about customers and next best actions and affording them opportunities to sweeten the pot or improve the member experience? That hasn't happened as much as we thought it would, and it remains low-hanging fruit. I think in the loyalty journey is part of the promise of AI has to be to build clienteling and let humans serve other humans in a better way.
we saw in the 2024 State of Customer Loyalty Report that 79% of brands have an interest in updating, enhancing, or redoing their customer loyalty offerings. Based on your experience with clients, what are the most common types of enhancements brands are requesting in their loyalty programs for 2025?
It's a good question. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased coming from Cataboom. So, but in all reality, we are hearing a lot about gamification, right? I mean, that is our world, but gamification is a really common enhancement. I think with the other things that we keep hearing a lot about, and it's related to us, but I think just as we talk to different clients and loyalty platform partners, a big part is like the integrations and how things fit into the tech stack. Um, Folks integrating things like tying data to existing CRMs or weaving in CDPs like a Braze and an Optimove, and how those things all fit interwoven into an entire experience, right? So I think that a key part of like brands that are like, we have to get our integrations right. We have to have our tech stack right. We have all the things talking to each other and working together synergistically. Gamification obviously can fit into the fold of that. And then within that, things like personalization, which fits into gamification, but it's also independent of that. I think those are some of the biggest enhancements in kind of the buzzy things that keep coming up in conversations. And I think the reason we hear a lot about those is because it's related to us, right? How do they integrate us? How do we use some of the cool new technologies on our end to be able to integrate smoother and easier and faster? And I think that's been a boon for us, frankly, because those kind of things are important for the clients. Those things become now fundamental. So I think that's how I would answer that first question.
And how should brands incorporate these new trends, these new processes into their existing loyalty strategies? How can brands strike a balance between innovating within their loyalty programs and maintaining consistency that's understood for their current customers?
Yeah, the old, who moved my cheese, and you don't want to change things too much for existing consumers too much, or you risk losing them, but you also want to keep it fresh and interesting. I think a lot of the things are around actually making it additive, right? It's about, I think when you think about it, and we talk to so many brands, and it's a blessing that we have, is about how do you give people more value, right? How do you take the experience they have, their time with the brand, the product, and how do you make sure that they add more value? And I think when you can understand that you're providing more value and the consumer feels that, I think that's where it becomes much more relevant. And so I think those are really important things as you strike those balances between new features and existing. How do you make it valuable? It doesn't mean it's more complicated. It doesn't mean that they need to spend necessarily a lot more time, but how are you making it more interesting and relevant to them as you do this? I think the other thing that really becomes part of that is a lot of data, right? The Loyalty 360 data too is, and some we're going to go through this in some of the next questions. So it's like, how do you cut through the clutter? How do you also, include ways and reasons for people to engage outside of just transaction, right? How do you make it real loyalty and not just a points program tied to purchase? And I think that's where brands are also starting to go is like, that's where we're going to look at incremental things and how do we drive a balance because you're providing additive value outside of just transaction.
In what ways do you feel that AI can impact revenue and customer loyalty for brands in 2025?
Look, the number one thing is, AI is being thrown around a lot. We know that. And I think there's a couple different levels of AI. One is AI paint. Hey, we added this feature. I'm not going to name ESPs, but in the last few months, hey, we're now going to cycle through and give you AI generated email subject line opportunities. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. But are you going to guarantee revenue? So I'll call that AI paint, right? That's like putting a coat of paint on an old car. It looks nice and new and shiny, but is it really changing the efficiency of your gas mileage or getting you anywhere faster? Probably not. Where Wonderkin focused in years ago was training AI on data to make decisions. So I love that we're going into a campaignless world. So again, if Wonderkin can look at every single individual that's in your database or that you can get to convert and opt in, if we look at them individually and we're making decisions on an individual level for each one of them, you can't do that without AI. AI just scales it. It looks at, again, think of your medical records, right? If an AI engine looked at my history as a 50-year-old man, it would be able to make decisions very, very quickly because I've given it access to all of my medical history. It's the same exact thing with e-commerce. So I think brands should be looking at partners. If you're going to build it in-house, great. But you better be ready for bumps in the road,
Right.
and you better be ready to be spending dollars and investment of time and revenue into building it. Go find the partners like Wonderkin that have already figured this out, but get to the core. Are they making decisions with AI, or are they just doing the kind of like superfluous, AI paint wrapper? Because when you do campaignless strategies, what I mean by that is every single person doesn't have to fit into a campaign that's waiting in the wings. Like a machine can notice that Tim is a high propensity buyer. I spend more than the average person, let's say. How can AI recognize that, know my history, know what SKUs you have, know which ones you have in inventory, know which ones you're low in stock in, and make a bespoke decision for Tim that fits within your business rules so you're making margin? That's where we live today with AI for revenue generation.
Excellent. Closing thoughts, ideas for 2025. What's Wonderkin focused on going into 2025?
Yeah, we are doubling down on autonomous marketing. So, like I said, it's letting machines make decisions because they've gotten the right data. So, if you give us your data and we've got our data and we do our work, we're letting AI scale the opportunities. Like I said, it's the proof is in the pudding. We guarantee our revenue results, and we've got tons of client case studies on our site for anybody who wants to look at it. Outside of that, in a general perspective, I think this agentic AI, I think marketers by this time next year will be going, oh my gosh, you remember how much time I spent building TPS reports or email reports and this and that? It's all going to happen in real time, and it's going to move down, and you're just going to approve links in the chain to let AI in these different engines, different MarTech stacks, and your databases make decisions and go activate in a marketing capacity. And I'm extremely excited because I think humans are going to find more human things to do. They're going to be able to build better connections and spend time on creative and making their brand come to life rather than chasing that, end of quarter revenue dollar. And I really hope a lot of marketers embrace that and get some of their time back to enjoy their family and what they like to do outside of working.
One of the things we saw in the 2024 State of Customer Loyalty Report was that 79% of brands have an interest in updating, enhancing, or redoing their customer loyalty offering. Are there specific industries leading the charge in loyalty program innovation? If so, which ones, and what are they doing differently?
So one of the things that we love to do when we're doing loyalty strategy engagements, whether that be a new program design or evolving an existing program, is doing a cross-industry inspiration workshop. And we love to pull things from all different industries because there's a lot of industries that have been doing it a long time, such as like retail and travel. Some industries that are a little bit newer to the space, like we're seeing a lot of rise in like B2B, but it's interesting to see how different brands approach it. So even as we're having B2B conversations, we often hear brands such as like Delta Airlines referenced as like, that's our North Star vision. Like we want to be like Delta Airlines, but in the B2B industry. And whenever we dig deeper, it's really about like that customer experience that Delta Airlines brings to the table. So for instance, the seamless way to book, the way that they kind of like reinforce value at the end of the flight. Like if they get there early, they'll send you like a push notification, like kind of like reinforcing that, oh, wow, we actually did something great. Or the way that it's really easy to track and participate in the program and see like where your status is and how close you are to unlocking different benefits. And so we take a lot of that inspiration from brands that have been doing this much longer, like the Delta Airlines of the world, or even in like the retail space, looking at brands such as like, REI is one of my favorites. They really reinforce like their brand vision of who they are and meet their customer where they are. Like they want to be outdoors. And so having like community events or donating a lot of the profits from the membership that people are paying and actually feeding that back into nature, or having, ways that people can actually trade use merchandise for new. A lot of those elements, like they enable people to have that outdoor experience that they're looking for. And so like those are the types of things that we look to bring to the table. And then as far as like some different themes that we're seeing, especially within travel and retail, like one of them being partnerships. So, we've seen a lot more partnerships come to the table, whether that be, Delta and Starbucks or Marriott and Starbucks. And also like gamification is another one that we've seen brought to the table more and more often recently. And so I think those are two that we're going to continue to see flourish in 2025.
We saw in our 2024 State of Customer Loyalty Report that 79% of brands have an interest in updating, enhancing, or redoing their customer loyalty offerings. Are there specific industries leading the charge in loyalty program innovation? If so, which ones and what are they doing differently?
The ability to infuse more functionality and provide more value through point utility, whether that be through partnerships or otherwise. And then, enabling more flexibility and choice into loyalty programs is really a big focus right now. Brands should be thoughtful with any changes that they make to an existing loyalty program. Really, that, if you think about it, it's published and it's out there in the world. We've all seen what the commentary on social media will do if you do make changes that aren't expected or that are seen as negative. But always be sure that you're leading with data-driven insights that identify both the strengths and pain points of the program, which includes keeping a pulse on customer feedback. So be sure that when you're making changes that involve the earn burn, for example, that you're providing enough value without it being too rich of a program. And with that, economic modeling is really critical. It's always easier to add promotions that are more targeted and have more of a limited time, right, than it is to kind of walk back on something that you've published, right? You don't want to just assume that what you're seeing out there from competitors or what's trending and shiny will be right for your brand. So I think overall, if you can layer in new features kind of gradually, test with smaller segments or locations first, and then kind of keep some of your core benefits stable while adding enhanced options, this will help maintain that consistency for existing members. And then there should always be a huge focus on member communication.
In our State of Customer Loyalty report in 2024, we saw that 72% of brands believe there is a sea of sameness regarding customer loyalty programs. Can you share an example or two of how a brand successfully differentiated itself through a unique strategy, campaign, or reward offering to address that sea of sameness?
Yeah, of course. So businesses come to Talon.One because they're looking to break away from the basic earn and burn loyalty programs that often get lost in that sea of sameness that we see with so many programs. Today's customers expect more. So in my role, I help brands transform their loyalty programs into really engaging experiences. It's what makes my job so rewarding and interesting. We help advise customers on their loyalty strategy and help them bring their strategy and vision to life. I'll give you two examples. The first is H&M. Their loyalty program transforms casual shoppers into brand advocates. So signing up for H&M's loyalty program, it's super quick. It only asks for the basics, and then you're in. Plus, it's a really smart way for them to gather zero-party data without making it a hassle for customers. They've also tied in some really cool sustainability perks. So you can bring in your old clothes to recycle, and they'll thank you with a $15 coupon, which is really a win-win because you get to clean out your closet, and then you also get to score some rewards. H&M also makes earning and redeeming points feel really effortless. Whether you're shopping online or shopping in the app, you just use your digital member ID and it's all synced up for a really smooth and personalized experience. Another great example is Adidas. Their loyalty program is designed to engage and reward customers for their fitness activities along with purchases. So, for example, points for purchases and workouts. So members can earn points for every dollar spent and for tracking their workouts via the Adidas app. And this encourages both shopping and fitness engagement, letting members gain points quickly for every workout they complete. They also have exclusive access to offers, so members can enjoy early access to sales, limited edition releases, and member-only products. This exclusivity always creates a buzz and a sense of belonging. Then there's the other layer of experiential rewards. So Audi Club stands out with unique non-monetary rewards like raffles for signed merchandise, access to member-only products, and once-in-a-lifetime experiences like training with your favorite athletes and things like that.